Welcome back to Höljes in Sweden. We are here for round 4 of RallyX Nordic 2021. We had round 3 on Thursday. This round is a traditional round spread over 2 days, 2 heats on Saturday, and then we're on 2 heats Sunday with semi-finals and finals. Feels quite mad, actually, how Ridge to have some breaks in between the sessions. Thursday, I think it was 8 hours 50 or something ridiculous without a 10-minute break. We've been out and actually spoken to some people in real life.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? And yeah, people are loving being here, aren't they? Fantastic to be doing a Rallycross event, and so much more time to not only chat, but to really understand how the event's going, how the track's evolving, and to try and get faster.
Yeah, certainly we'll be bringing you all the stories from all the people we've been away and chatted to during the break. We've got a fantastic guest lined up for you in the first part of this session as well. But before we do any of that, we're going to take a look back at the first RX2E race, which happened earlier on today. Now, this is a bit of a fun/celebrity, I think Andreas Eriksson called it a super team race. We've got 3 different cars with 3 sets of 3 drivers in them. It was Timmy Hansen at the wheel of the fully decaled red and blue car that you can see at the front of the pack here. And Hal, he just looked super comfortable in that car straight away.
He did, and that's impressive given that he's done, they did a little bit of driving yesterday, didn't they, as a shakedown, but he's done look at the car get sideways there on landing. He's done so little driving this weekend. Of course, he knows this circuit very, very well. There's his brother spotting for the car. Marcus Gronheim's driving behind. And this is a world first. This is the first time these RX2E cars have been used in a racing environment. Yeah,
sure. We've seen them test before. We've actually seen them a few times now. We've seen them at RallyX Nordic events. We saw them at the end of last year at World RX of Spain. We saw it at RallyX Nordic Nissan. It then ran again at RallyX Nordic Nissan just a couple of weeks ago. They've got 4 of them here. One of them's being held back for testing on Monday. And they've been put through their paces by the best drivers in the world. Let me read you the team list, because it's the first team is Andreas Backerud. I've got Eriksson written down, which is a stupid thing to write because there are plenty of Erikssons. So we'll just refer to the other list, shall we? Hold on. Kevin Eriksson. And we've got Anton Markland in the first team. Marcus Gronholm. Yep, Marcus, senior Gronholm. Then Oliver Eriksson, Kevin Hansen. And the last team is Kristoffersson, Timmy Hansen, and Sebastian Eriksson. So these are your standings for Crosscar Junior, which is what we're covering first of all in this next session. You'll be able to see some of the RX2E later on. At the minute, Nilsson leads, having won the first session from Lunderlander. Lauri Hallinen, who was in here yesterday handing out the licorice, is in P3. You can see Lauri in the middle of the grid. No rest for the wicked. Let's get going, shall we? Brilliant start by Hallinen from the centre of the grid, but being edged on the run down to turn 1 by Erik Nilsson on the inside line. Nilsson just puts one wheel on the curb. Hallinen with a little bit of opposite lock and goes standard lap round the outside. Early joke up there and nicely sideways. Track conditions, I'd say improving a little bit, Hal. I'm not keen to commit to that because of the way it changes so much, but there are some dry patches now, definitely a dry line in places, although we have got drizzle outside as we came in the comms box.
Yeah, it has drizzled a bit in the gap, hasn't it? Hallinen's having a little luck on the inside. I noticed Hallinen moved over a grid slot as he came off the start line. Little gap lean left on the inside, but it's quite dry now on the outside of the velodrome, so carrying the speed through. Yeah, he moved over a slot off the start line. I don't really think that was intentional. It's a very unique start here where you start on the tarmac, then you move on to the gravel, and that can make the car move around. Hallinen runs very wide over the jump, and that's Lunderlander that's going to go around the outside. Great move.
Lots of rev limiter action in this, which we weren't hearing earlier on today because these guys just didn't have the grip for it. Nobody did. Really slippery conditions meant that everyone was kind of feathering the throttle around the course. Lunderlander going joker.
Such a dry line developing. You can see it around the top of the first corner, but meanwhile there's spots of water on the lens there looking over the joker lap. Lunderlander comes out of the joker comfortably out of battle there. But look, you can even see that the lighter coloured loose surface where it's no blue groove by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly drier than the darker patches on the outside, and that's really difficult trying to stay in those clean lines.
I was just about to say, you're not going to see the alternate lines around the velodrome here in quite the same way now.
Look at it, it's really clear, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Look, sideways for Nilsson at the bottom of the hill. A little bit of air as well. We weren't seeing that, Hal, in the previous one because they just weren't carrying enough speed through the previous corner.
Yeah, that jump is all about the momentum you carry through the right-hander at the bottom of the hill, and the bottom of the hill is, or that going down the hill, as we know, it requires some kind of major commitment. Alex Gustafsson, the leading driver, having jokered here.
Nilsson leading the race from Hallinan, but yeah, Gustafsson in P3. I think Hallinan is definitely going to get eaten up come the strategy playing out. But whether or not Nilsson might be able to hold on out front, we're going to see. We've just been joined by a man who held on thoroughly out. Fraser, Jamaica should be awake by now, so you can give them a quick big up, and then you can tell us what on earth went on there. I reckon that was possibly one of the best drives of your life, that last session.
Yeah, big up, guys. Thanks for having me, and big up everybody at home as usual. I know it was a really slippery, tricky race, and I mean, it's still quite slippery out there, but that's the hardest condition to drive in. It's not wet, not dry, but drying up. That's the hardest condition to drive in, because you can drive a little bit too careful and be slow, but if you push over that limit, then you lose seconds.
No, we watched you push it. Okay, joke lap for Nilsson. Let's just take a quick look back at the action as Hallinan slides in too much. Hallinan backed into the barrier. Two wheels went in on the rear right quarter. Broken suspension for Lowry. Hallinan, I think, might just be the mudguard if he's lucky, but he clattered that barrier pretty hard. And Nilsson in the 34 did get out in front. Tidy job.
That's what I mean about the clean line. Yes, he carried way too much speed into the Joker, but it has broken the rear suspension, as you said, Andrew. But as soon as you get off the cleaner line, it's still so slippery, isn't it, Fraser?
Yeah, that's so. Like I was saying earlier, if you push that extra, 1-2%, trying to be a little quicker, it can bite. The track bites, and once you have the wheel out of that dry line, you kind of in trouble. So
Nilsson looked like about to get bitten just then, but somehow with a bit of lock and a few revs managed to hold on. Nilsson's going to take this one. Let's take a look and see what the time is. 3:52, and that's compared to 4:01 won the first session. So they're about 10 seconds quicker than they were this morning, which is indicative of the track conditions. Now, Fraser, we watched your joke lap in slow motion. It was a banger, mate. It was really...
It was a proper send.
It was a proper send. The transition was nice. You were nicely on the curbs. Andreas Eriksson's a hard man to please, but even he was quite pleased, which is pretty good praise from Andreas, isn't it?
I know it's hard to get a compliment out of them these days, but I mean, been getting a few recently, and yeah, I can always tell if the times are going to be really close with Andreas spotting. You can hear the emotion and how devoted he is in the spotting. So when I heard he was kind of calm but a little bit still trying to get that extra edge from me, I was like, I need to bang in every 10th I can, because I knew the fast guys were coming up and the track could have been drying up. So I did everything I could, and it seemed to be enough. It
was the perfect drive. It was from our point of view, it was really good. Through the hairpin at the end here, he had to be so patient. This last corner, which is just outside the commentary box, it looks so greasy.
Yeah, and you have to be so calm in the mid corner, because if you drive a little bit too much, you get understeer, and then if you do a little too hard, you get oversteer, and then a big slide, and then you end up losing seconds. But in that part of the mid corner there, when you're trying to be as patient as you can, it feels so slow. It feels like minutes are passing.
Yes, I mean, you're just
and
waiting.
You just have to be so mentally strong to know that you're going to be faster in the end. So.
Yeah, well, you were fast. Frazier McConnell winning Q1 of round 4 of RallyX Nordic as we move on to the second race for Crosscar Junior. Anderson, Martin's Ulalami, who's we were berated earlier on for being terrible with the names, and Ulalami's P2 gets a bit of understeer. I thought was going to go Joker there, but didn't. And it's Martins who's gone straight into the Joker lap, but I can see rain on the lens, Hal, and that's going to turn things on its head again, potentially. Yeah,
I was just having a peer out of the window of the studio here. It's suddenly got a lot darker on the screen there, hasn't it? And it's definitely raining outside now. It's not pouring down, but it's just enough to make it a little bit more greasy. Traction running wide again, because all of a sudden that clean line that we were talking about in the first race is starting to disappear. The whole, we'll see it now as it comes down. You can still see it a bit, but the track's starting to look the same colour all the way across again.
I think the fact that Rasmus Persson's got the wipers on whilst in the lead is a good indicator. You know, at the minute, everyone's having their wipers. And again, look how dark the tarmac's going through this last corner. Fraser, how quickly is this going to get slippery again?
I was actually going to point out the shiny stuff. It's the dust X kind of coming from the gravel onto the tarmac, and that's like the slipperiest of slippery in my mind. And
it's the slipperiest of the slippery. Yeah, that's like, yeah.
I mean, these juniors are so impressive. It's like such a good baseline for Rallycross growing up in Scandinavian countries. These are, I think, 10 to 15 years old, and I mean, their car control looks unbelievable, and it's just such a great foundation for a good Rallycross driver.
They're amazing, mate. Now, we know you've been trying to launch something in Jamaica. You've been trying to launch on the
Yardman Racing.
Yardman Racing, which is the coolest name ever for folk race. Yardman Racing. Obviously, COVID has slowed your plans down somewhat. Would you fancy something like Junior Crosscar out there as well? I mean, there's the passion for motorsport in the Caribbean. You know, I know we're on Sports Max today out there, and they're loving it, aren't they? Rally Barbados, all the stuff in Jamaica. The scene's big.
Yeah, the motorsport culture is huge. I mean, even every single taxi driver thinks they're the best race car driver in the world, and I mean, all the cars are straight piped, and that it gives everyone is tuning into the races both on the RallyX app and Sports Max, and they just love what I'm doing, and they feel like such a part of everything. You know, I bring the Jamaican culture to the forefront in such a European sport, and yeah, spreading the love.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you here. We absolutely love it. Person, and Yulilami, how did he get away with that? Just touched the barrier with the rear left. And Anderson slots into P3. Big bump. Look at the deflections. He comes up over the curbs. Ulalami doing a nice job. Anderson's wiper is a little bit slow for his liking. Luckily, the screen isn't too dirty. Smooth on the throttle again. We're still hearing some limiter action, so I guess there's a bit of grip out there, but maybe not quite as much as there was down the hill again. Just a handful of locks. So Person coming through the right-hander. Ulalami just behind. Anderson is now up into P3 after the jokers have played out. Target time, bottom left of your screen, 3:52.5. Come on, sideways. Is that too wide on the greasy stuff?
You can see how shiny it is there in the just half a meter out the lines.
Yeah. We've seen people on their lap taking a wider line and carrying momentum through there, but on the final lap keeping it tight. Is that to get to the transponder loop more quickly?
I guess it's guys trying to find out where the grip is, but yeah, I think it's faster to just keep tight and bang it like a regular lap.
Then you have to really wait on the throttle though.
Be as patient as you can, and it eats you up inside, but you have to do it.
Love it.
And so much of that comes with experience, doesn't it? Maybe a year ago when you were driving a supercar here for the first time, you wouldn't have been able to do that.
And bam, and then you just go fully sideways.
But as we always say, mate, you get good photos, you know, when you're sending it, but you don't get good lap times, do you? Hal, go on, what you
Just
said.
watch over the jump here. Because the junior cross cars aren't carrying the same sort of momentum up the hill into this jump, there's like a little, watch the car in the background, so there's a little second skip as the front wheels hit the next bump. You don't see that in any of the other classes, do you?
No, we saw Person almost with a wheelie over the line. Person going to take this one. Look at the difference in time though, 4:09. Wow, that's gone more. That's 18 seconds slower in just between two races. If you needed any indicator of what a tiny bit of drizzle can do out on the circuit, that's it. Now, Fraz, that kind of not makes you nervous, I guess, but the conditions are ever changing in Rallycross anyway. You're in
especially in Höljes.
Yeah, and you'll be in the first race. What do you want to see? Do you want to see full wet? I mean, it's unlikely to be full dry. You just don't want it to change in the supercar heats.
It's tough. I mean, when it's full rain for the all of the heats, everyone has the same track. But I mean, like in 2019, last year, 2019 in RX2, the first heat had completely dry, and then Q2 was like pouring rain, and I think me and Ollie were 20-something seconds off the next faster guys, and Höljes can bring all that changing weather to the game, and I'm just looking forward to being in the front, because then you don't have the spray in your windscreen, and that helps a lot.
Starting from slot number 1 on the grid, Frass will be as he did in the last heat. We are now on to Isaac Hattenmark, Isaac Nordbeck, Maiju Niemi, Josefin Holmqvist missing, and Pontus Oskarsson on the outside. Great start from P2. Isaac Nordbeck has just hooked it up off the line and away. Fraser, we've seen that the starts have really varied across the grid. Earlier on today, we thought the middle slot and slot 5 were good. Then you absolutely killed it from the inside line. When we've been here in the past with the World Championship, we've seen people out there measuring the traction in those grid boxes. Have you guys discussed what's a good draw or a bad draw here?
It's tough to say because it changes so much. The P1 grid when I was there, there's a little water settling on the left side, so I positioned my car as much to the right as I could, but not enough so it's on the white line, because the white line is ice. You don't want to go on that, so kind of moved over way right as I could, and you know, just have to play with the clutch and the throttle and be as least wheel spin as you possibly can, and that's what gives you a good start.
For the viewers watching at home, when you're inside the car, obviously it's only you that controls where the car goes in the grid slot. How hard is it to get right over but not quite put the tyre on that line? Because you sit very low, don't you? So you can't see that much of the front of the car.
You have to just trust the instinct as well, and if I'm not too sure, I have the guys behind me to, you know, be like, all right, Faz, you have a couple of millimeters this way, that way, and Yeah, big up Andrew Coley's Instagram. But no, the starts, especially in the rain, are so crucial because, like I said earlier, the visibility is, if you can't see, you can't really drive. So I've learned that one the hard way, and it's not so fun.
Look at the rain on that lens now up at the far end of the circuit. There will come a point where the conditions will become consistent again, but we're not at that point now, and I don't think there's any chance. Okay, it's fastest first again, so unfortunately, Hal, this is the total opposite. Last time out, we saw the conditions maybe go in favour of the later runners in some of the classes, but it was so random. And there's a tipping point again, isn't there, where it's going from dry, it goes to that horrible greasy before it's proper dry.
And then it flips.
Yeah, goes the other way.
I mean, you could be in a heat race and lap 1, 2 are a second and a half off the pace of 3 and 4. So it does get to that point where you can never know when it happens, but it flips.
Yeah, there's a big case for wanting it just to absolutely monsoon down with rain, isn't there? So
Proper
you don't have that sort of period where it's changing, where once it's full wet, it's just wet, isn't it? Whereas at the moment it's moving and adapting all the time.
And a little bit of rain now could also be good because then it would clean off all the grease and the dirt on the tarmac. And the dirt would be the same, but you'd have better tarmac conditions. And you always have to be reading those lines and just trust your instincts on what you feel the grip is.
How's this learning process been for you, Fraser? Say, I first, it was myself and Bucky Lasek, wasn't it, watching you in ARX, what was that, 2018? Full send, mate. Listen, we're watching a guy at the minute in Lites called Kasper Jansen, who really reminds us of you. He was full send ever in Denmark, never made it through even, I think, it was at the back of the semi-finals. And we were like, look, if he tidies up like Fraser tidied up, he's going to kill it. He's absolutely smashing it here. But that learning process, it's like a wall, isn't it? It's a super steep curve.
Yeah, and I mean, no one likes to lose. And when you're going sideways in the lights, or any car for that matter, you can't win. And then you just get that. It's such a terrible feeling to you're trying your best and you're so far off the pace. It's like, man, what am I doing here? And then so you have to really take a step back and open your mind and accept your problems. And then look at them with an open mind and say, okay, I can do this so much better. And
did you solve most of those, do you think, in the Lites cars, in ARX2 or
Lites? In RX2, the field is so tough in RX2 when I was there in 2019. And I mean, you go into a free practice and you come out feeling great, banging a lap, and then you're ninth. But from ninth to first is 3/10.
Yeah.
And that really develops my driving a lot, and over on ARX2 as well. And the Lites is the best platform, I think, for developing into four-wheel drive turbo cars, and that's where you've moved on to. I know you want to win the RallyX Nordic title this year, as we see very close indeed. Hatt and Mar almost running into the back. These guys have been running so close together. I think going to have to give best here. I think it's Norbeck all sideways in the last corner, super close and just a bit too keen, and that's a good example of it. So Fraser, you're hoping later on this year, I know, to be stateside and do Nitro Rallycross. Yeah, I know it's all dependent on the budget. We have working really hard right now to get the budget for Nitro, as well as focus on making the guys in Nordic happy. So we have quite a few people on board now for Nordic, which is really cool. We have Sandals Hotels. The Jamaica Tourist Board is also on board, so I'm on the official ambassador now for Jamaica, which is really awesome.
Mate, it's incredible. It's thoroughly deserved as well. I remember the first time you came here, I believe they had to dig out a Jamaican flag, didn't they? Yeah. They were like, where do we get a Jamaican flag? Went to the first
event and there was no Jamaican flag. I was like, what the hell, guys? Come on.
You got it. Hal and me were joking that you probably take a big box of Jamaican flags with you now. So
I have at least 2 with me everywhere.
Brilliant. Love it. Love it. Isaac Norbeck, 4:14.4, which wasn't terrible. I think it's about 4 seconds off the pace of the previous race. So it was the first race was so much faster. It was Nielsen taking this session by a whopping 17 seconds, thanks to the weather changing. Not sure what it's going to do as we move on from Crosscar Junior. Fraz, you can stick around as long as you want to, but we also appreciate at some point you'll have to go and be a rallycross driver.
I love this car.
Do you? The open class?
Yeah, man.
Is this what? Is this where
the E30 there with the rotary?
Yeah, Simon
it's like
Tigers.
Money in the airs.
Yeah. Oh man, I really wish I was Jamaican. It's just there's a turn of phrase, isn't there? You know, there is a turn of phrase. So Tiger lost the session last time out to Jansen. Only the second time he's lost a session, and Jansen's got a brilliant start. This is what we saw, Helen Neeson. Simon Tiger trying to go around the outside. All 530 horsepower. Oh, it's not going to stick, is it? Has to drop in behind. Gives Janssen a little push on the run into turn 1. I'm here, and you're not going to have an easy time of it. But Janssen's got the start, and this is the wet conditions seem to be suiting him.
Janssen did everything right there, didn't he? He hooked the curb on the inside going into the first corner. They ran deep. Even though Tiger had come back at him into the first corner, there was just nowhere to go. And now he's where he needs to be out front. Tiger, he's brilliant when he's out front on his own, and we haven't really seen him have to fight his way through any traffic because, to be fair, the races haven't been that busy and there's been quite a gap between the pace at the front and the back, but now it gets interesting.
Yeah, it definitely does. It looks interesting anyway in these cars just for the grip levels out there. It's so slippery. Inside line going to cover off Simon Tiger trying to look there. Got to wait. Let's listen to the throttle. Listen to this. So Tiger much more patient on the throttle, got good traction, going to look up the inside of Janssen, perfect demonstration. Oh, goes wide, just holds on. I thought Simon Tiger had got him, he's going to go Joker. Oh yes, and Janssen covers him off.
Brilliant tactics.
Brilliant. So Janssen, I reckon, saw Tiger going. He's forced him basically to Joker behind him. I'm sure Janssen was going standard lap. How that is great use of his mirrors if that's the case.
Janssen couldn't have done it better.
No. Yeah, he had already started turning in for turn 2, hadn't he? Had a glance across, realised that Tiger was going, and the conditions being... OK, the cars are that bit slower than a supercar anyway, but the conditions slow things down a bit more again. It's almost like driving a little bit in slow motion, so you can make those sort of reactions.
Tiger's going to lose a place to Bertelsen there if he's not careful. Just about gets some grip as they go onto the gravel section.
I think Bertelsen may have just at least come very close to the wall. Bertelsen's been really good in the wet as well today. This is mixing things up so much, isn't it?
I think what Hal says there is really key, actually. If you think about the entry speed normally into turn 2 and into the Joker, Fraz, you maybe wouldn't have been able to make that last-minute decision, but with it all being a bit slower, he's had the chance to look. He probably knows Simon Tiger's quicker over a lap, but mugged him. He's made him follow him into the Joker.
I remember, I think it's like 530 horsepower in that thing or something, and rear-wheel drive turbo is, that's going to be a tough machine to keep straight in a wet track, especially in Höljes. So
is this where we're going to see Yardman racing heading in the future? Like we're going to go for some...
That's the goal, at least.
Yeah?
I mean, probably not. This is probably a little expensive for the guys back home, but, you know, start small and build our way up, and just good competition is what I'm after, and that's easiest when it's cheap.
We're going to... Yeah, exactly. We're going to see the flip-flop camera. Here you go. Awesome down the hill. Just absolutely love how close they come into the arm coat. Janssen's done a great job here. Still got another lap to go. But if anything, has gapped Simon Tiger a bit more.
Look how patient he is.
Yeah. I wonder if Tiger might be... Bertelsen, to me, maybe not. I thought Bertelsen was closing down as they came through there.
Well, it will have only started raining properly again once they were already in pre-grid, won't it? So you never know whether... Yes, they're all using wets on the front, but... You know, in the Super National Championships, often people run wet tyres on the front anyway, just to try and generate a bit of heat into the front tyres to help with turn-in. And maybe you would run dries on the rear. I don't know, we can't really see because of the bodywork, but they're certainly running wets on both front axles on the leading 2 cars. But you never know if Tiger's gone for dries on the rear, hoping that the track was continuing to dry, then it's rained again, and that leaves you in a world of trouble.
There's nothing you do to change it. We saw yesterday's Swedish national racing. Swedes are here again today. I'm wondering, Jansen's surely not doing both today, is he?
I was just wondering that on the previous lap, actually.
Yeah, he did Swedish yesterday. He did Nordic on Thursday. So has he chosen only to do Nordic today, or is he like being super hardcore and doing both Swedish and Nordic in the same day?
Based on his enthusiasm yesterday, I reckon he's doing both.
Oh, I love that idea.
I definitely saw a car that looked like him on the start line yesterday.
Yeah, he was out yesterday, definitely. But could he be double running today,
he just loves
Fraser?
it.
Yeah, man, he can't.
He must have to really love it.
He just can't keep away. Can't do enough laps.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for having me. We need to do this again. I'm going to go get ready.
You're more than welcome anytime you like. Frazier McConnell is off. He's going to have to come back later because I need to know about Uncle Sal. I still don't quite know what that is on the back of the car. We'll find out. Hal, this was a moment of genius from Janssen. It actually reminds me of the tactics. Was it Hoonigan with Backerud and the Focus forcing Solberg into the Joker?
Yeah, in Norway in Ford Focus RS-RX. That was a David Mansfield instigated trick, and it was an absolute moment of genius. Petter was not happy about that.
No, but it was perfect.
Absolute genius. This isn't quite the same thing because it's not so unexpected. But just have the composure to do it. We didn't quite see it in that replay.
I think the thing is, these guys won't. The thing in Norway was that I think Andreas Backerud at the time felt that if Solberg beat him off the line in the Volkswagen Polo, that he would not be able to beat him in the race. But because Backerud had the inside line, he forced Solberg, didn't he, from that inside line to go Joker on lap 1. It was just a brilliant tactical move. Then you just got to keep the door shut. So yeah, here this was a little bit more reactive. I'd say Andreas, it was probably much more premeditated, wasn't it? Something that had been discussed. Another brilliant start off the line there with the traction of the Porsche 911. That's Lars England. But we think this car looks better in the wet hull than in the dry.
Yeah,
which is mad, really.
I'm still a bit baffled by it.
So am I, to be honest.
I didn't actually have time to go and speak to him in the gap, although I would have wanted to. Just to retouch on that Norway thing that backward pulled off, I actually wrote about some of the best moments in World RX history. It was England gets all out of shape in the Porsche coming over that crest, which is actually pretty big before the velodrome. Yeah, the backward Norway thing, I think that was one of the highlights of the entire World Championship from when it started in 2014. You know, just really using the rules and the scenario to your advantage without doing anything untoward. No,
but you can still understand why Petter would have been livid.
Of course, I would have been livid as well.
You've been out-tacticked, basically, and that's just not what you want. If he'd known, of course, he'd have checked up, wouldn't he, and gone standard lap, because Backrud would have committed to it early, but that's the beauty of them not knowing.
And I know people don't like a first corner joker, and I can see why, but in that scenario, it just brought the race alive, didn't it? It was absolutely fantastic. And it also gives the value to the spotter, you know, or not just the spotter, but the tactician as well, and then the spotter to relay the information in really short notice. It's almost like a NASCAR scenario when they're saying cover outside.
Yeah, go high, go low, yeah, sure, you're clear. And we know spotters use that as well. You're clear as in shut the door to the inside line. I suppose one of the best things about Rallycross really in the variety of tracks is that, okay, yeah, maybe a first corner joker isn't great. I definitely wouldn't want one everywhere, put it that way. Definitely not. But I love the variety.
Me too.
And it makes the spotters work. You look at Estering, it's uphill, and then, you know, you've got the run to the finish line, and so nobody wants to joker. Is it on the last lap? I think everybody wants to have joker by lap 3 because it's to do with tenths on lap time. And once you get into the details of it, I actually think it's probably the most stressful job in the paddock, being a spotter.
I could talk all day about they're carrying a lot more speed into the entry of the last corner now, aren't they? So the wet, I think, is doing what Fraser said and cleaning the track. But yeah, I could talk all day about spotters and the merits of a good and bad spotter. I spoke in Neeson about when I raced a supercar in the British Rallycross Championship at the end of last year, and I was lucky enough to have David Mansfield, Andreas Backrud's former spotter, spotting for me in the semi-final, and you know, my dream for the weekend was to make the final in quite a competitive field, and hand on heart, I wouldn't have done that without someone as good as he was on the radio. I had both Tony Bardi and David Mansfield spotting for me across the course of the weekend, and they both did amazing things to help me improve on my driving and to help me drive the car like I did. I think you just cannot underestimate how...
England makes a mistake and loses the position. Sorry, Hal, to interrupt. And then, back again. Person over the gravel trap, almost a whoop section.
Oh, no, it's damaged.
England's dropped... I don't even know what that is. Is it the whole rear quarter? No, it's half the rear bumper. England now puts on a drifting show towards the finish line. There's still a lap to go. Wind it in.
And no quality of spotter could have done anything about it, because it's so slippery that you've just got to let them drive and see what they can do.
But then it's kind of like a co-driver, isn't it? We were joking earlier at Marcus Gronholm. You know, Marcus likes lots of questions about what needs to be done, because basically he's always had a co-driver with him to tell him what's got to happen. And I think spotters do that same thing. They remove some of the stress from the driver, take away some of the decision-making and the tactical side of things, and go, right, let's look at the laptop. You're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. Tidy that up. This is the joker tactic. Let's go.
You have to be so trusting of the person that's spotting for you. You know, for example, at Lydden Hill again, you know, David was calling 4 car lengths, 5 car lengths. I wasn't even looking in the mirror. You just have to trust that they're telling you the correct information.
Down the bottom of the hill, England seems to struggle. Yeah, and it's that weight transfer from the quick left into the right. Got to just keep the door shut now. Person going to have a look all the way around the outside. England, wait on that throttle. Don't go too early. That's better. And England takes the checkered flag. Well, it was a good race between those two. That's open two-wheel drive done. I don't think they're troubling the times, are they, of the previous run?
I was having a few issues with the timing screen before this race, so it all went a bit blank on me. I'll blame the rain. So I don't know what the time was.
My brain it very often goes a bit blank on me, so that we can understand the timing screen occasionally letting us down. That's fine.
Oh, it's okay. I've still got the previous race on my timing screen. I don't have the current race, so yeah, it was much slower.
There we go. England with another mistake over the crest there. That's I think that's up at Velodrome, is it? Yeah, it is, turning into the Velodrome at the far end. The crest dip there is really marked. The one that's in the background of that shot, it is really marked. This place is a proper little roller coaster. Okay, cross car. Quick drivers up first. Although, Crosscar for me, and probably because it's the longest session, so we've got 15, 19, we've got 23 Crosscars. This is how they stand, look. Trotterud taking the session, first session win of the year. Mayat, the factory driver from France, up into P2. Aronen, Osterberg, Hallberg, Radstrom, Räikkönen, Anderson, Riesen down in 9th. Eganson down in 10th. Eganson won yesterday. So there's all sorts of drama for these guys. And I think, Hal, it's because the session is about 20, 25 minutes long, what with the brakes and everything. And so the track has the longest time to develop, not just because the car's running over it, but because of things like the ambient temperature, the wind, everything drying out. David Matt with a great start, going to shut the door surely. Oh, in the background, Jimmy Osterberg trying to find a way through, but it's completely boxed in on the inside. Oh, it's Mayat, Hallberg, Osterberg stalls up and has lost time there, definitely. Having a look on the inside, Hallberg trying to find his way past Mayat, contact on the curb on the inside line. Going to flip the car back the other way. Hallberg using all of the curbs. Osterberg now all over them. Osterberg surely going to look up the inside. Here he does. Osterberg trying for a two-pass. Gets both of them in one turn. Runs the car deep on the outside line. Oh, brilliant. Mayat's run wide and Osterberg's got them both.
What an opportunistic move that was from Osterberg. Fantastic stuff there. Mayat's in the background fending off Hallberg still. Remember, Hallberg double jokered in the last one and still produced a brilliant drive. He's run wide now and
Hallberg's car looks great in the wet. It looks really capable. I say Mayat is the factory driver for France for Planet Kart Cross, which is this car which Rainis Nittis is running as well. Rainis really pleased to beat him yesterday because, you know, he's kind of the benchmark. He's been down in Spain winning a 90-field cross-car championship, 90-car cross-car championship, and basically has come here and said this is the most competitive cross-car championship in the world, which is awesome for us.
Hallberg's gone joker and he's
covered him.
Yes, he's just going to get back out in front, so that's exactly what he needed to do. Now he can get his head down and try and catch Osterberg and Mayat up front. Mayat's actually running a 600cc engine rather than the 750 here as well. These conditions will really play to that, won't they?
Yeah.
Because you can't use all the 750cc's necessarily.
Look at the line around the outside by Aronen, hanging it out, going high the whole way around the banking. More banked corners in Rallycross. Up to the jump comes Osterberg. Osterberg got completely boxed in at the start. Hallberg down in the bottom of the dip in the background. He's using the gravel trap as part of the track. But I'm so impressed by Osterberg, Hal. He came out basically last of the drivers on the standard lap and then passed two people in that one corner to put himself in the pound seat for a win.
One of the most experienced drivers in the field, isn't he? And he's gone joker now, followed by Mayat with 2 laps to go.
Watch out then on the inside. This is to cover off Hallberg, and he's covering him off easily. Mayat maybe won't be quite so easy to get a shut the door.
Osterberg actually pulled the gap through the joke. He carried so much mid-corner speed through the second apex on that right-hander. That was really impressive.
Hallberg and Osterberg. Look at Hallberg going out round the outside. Look at this. A little dip, left foot on the brake, chucks it in. Mayat going on the tight line on the inside. Both those lines work.
It's definitely wetter now, isn't it? I'm looking out the window. I can't. It is drizzling, but not pouring down. But look how much spray there is now. And that must be really, it must be getting soaked.
Oh no, we spoke to Katie Munnings about her first experience at Crosscar. Apparently she went up the back straight and Timmy Hansen said to her dad who was watching, yeah, there's a lot of standing water up there, which they hadn't warned Katie about. She went straight into it. She said it was like a theme park ride. Basically, she was soaked absolutely to the skin on her outlap in a Crosscar. It's like, welcome to Crosscar. This is what it's like in the wet.
Changed down about 3 gears to get all the way through the puddle.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Mayat holding off Hallberg. Oh, flames from the back of Treuterud's car. Meanwhile, out front, Osterberg has gapped them. The one good thing about this is I think this is wet enough now that the next 2 or 3 races are going to be similar. Hallberg trying to find a way past Mayat. Don't go alongside the inside of the curve there. Just pulls it back onto the track. Does make me nervous when they go on the inside line off there. Hallberg catches the slide on the run down the hill. Mayat's held him off nicely. Osterberg, though, listen to Osterberg through the last corner. Wait. Light it up, checkered flag. Brilliant drive. 3:38, I think it was. That was a brilliant drive by Osterberg. You can see the buggy's not too dirty, which is a good indicator. Yes, fist pump from him. Here's the time, 3:38.735, and that for me is the drive of the day so far in Crosscar, just for conditions and then making that move, Hal, a really decisive move.
Interestingly, his time was only a second his time was a second quicker than the time he set in the previous run, which wasn't far away from the fastest time, which just shows exactly what Frazier McConnell was saying. And this is what I was talking about, how him absolutely nailing that second apex and carrying the mid-corner speed through the Joker lap. Doesn't get anywhere near the barrier on the outside, but doesn't need to. Yeah, Frazier was saying how the wetter track could actually be quicker, and that's shown there.
Great drive, Osterberg, recovering from a not good start. Osterberg was P6 yesterday after a good qualifying, was P3 in qualifying, ended up P6 in the final. Okay, this one, Radström, Räikkönen, Anderson, Rierson and Eganson. Watch for Rierson if you can get away, because Rierson's been spectacular all weekend. And Rierson does get away well. He's not going to have it all his own way, though. Can't quite shut the door yet. Can he? Does. He moves all the way across from outside to inside. Trying to go all the way around the outside of him, sideways. Rierson goes standard lap. I think it's Radström's gone Joker with Anderson. So, yeah, Rierson leads. Brave, I think. Not stupid. Certainly shut the door gently enough.
He made a brilliant start in the last one, didn't he? But he didn't manage to hold the lead through the whole first lap. We missed the move, actually, because we were looking back here in the velodrome. Has the same thing happened again? No, it hasn't. So he's carrying the lead still down the hill towards the fastest corner of the circuit. You've got to be so brave here in a cross car in the dry, never mind in the wet. Rierson's team were a little bit disappointed, as he was, that it hadn't quite gone their way. Nilsson is, it's Eganson, isn't it, in the car control machine in second, hassling Rierson. Yeah, the EKS JC team weren't particularly happy with the feeling of how it was going, but you know, that shows the level they're at, that he's still banging in the lap times, and they just know they can find a little bit more.
Eganson was yesterday's winner in very different conditions. Well, yesterday, I keep saying yesterday, Thursday. We had a
what day is it?
I've no idea, mate, to be honest. Absolutely no idea at all. It's all became somewhat irrelevant this last year, isn't it, what day it is? And tell you what it is, it's race day, Hal.
That makes it a very good day as well.
It's a very good day. It's a very good day. You seen the weather for tomorrow? Let's be British for a minute.
Well, I can't repeat how Marcus Gronholm described the weather forecast to me when I saw him yesterday evening, but basically it's going to dry up tomorrow, and today wasn't going to be very nice.
Okay, so is it safe to say Marcus Gronholm won't be hired to do the weather forecast on the television?
If he was, it'd be hilarious, but yeah, I think there'd be some complaints.
only awards from me. If Marcus Gronholm was doing the weather, I would very much enjoy that. If you've ever seen his comments about the Peugeot 307 WRC car, I'm sure you can imagine his thoughts on the weather, Hal.
Well, do you remember the time he was driving the 307 as Eganson goes into the Joker?
He's going to lose a place here to Räikkönen, and Räikkönen has a Joker, though, trying to cover off Radström, I think. So maybe Radström and Anderson were going quicker, Hal, at the back of the pack. So Räikkönen's going to get eaten up, isn't it? How far ahead was Rierson? Not far. Not far. Oh, okay, Anderson going high. Watch this. Anderson goes really high. He's going to stay high the whole way round the outside, but can't quite gain enough time on Radström.
Brilliant car positioning from Radström, because you know, if you go tight on the entry to try and cover off the inside, I think he's got that. If you go tight on the inside and then you inevitably run wide, and that's where you allow the undercut to happen. But he positioned the buggy in the middle of the circuit, so you can cover off both eventualities. That was great from him. Yeah, the Marcus reference about the weather was Rierson's gone into the Joker.
Watch for Rierson now then. Räikkönen's going to go in behind. This is all about Eganson. Eganson on the standard lap. I think there's going to be enough time here to close the door. Good driving by Rierson. Rierson must have done a tidy couple of laps there, Hal.
And a good call from the spot as well. I think they told him it was going to be close, because you saw the attitude of the car. It wasn't going to be too close. I think you've got a margin, but it's going to be a bit tight. Cover the inside. And so he came straight across the left, didn't he? Now it's about defending out of here, and he's got a couple of car lengths, so that's not too bad.
I thought Eganson might try the around the outside move there. Räikkönen's gone really wide side by side between Radström and Anderson. Anderson has to give best. You can see the different lines up there, but in the end, Rierson holding off Eganson. Eganson with a little wheelie over the crest. Okay, time to beat was a 3:39.7. They're not going to do that. 3:38.7, sorry. 3:42.4.
I'm surprised it's that much slower, to be honest.
Didn't look terrible, did it? But again, it's so hard for us. If Fraser is telling you how hard it is to read the track conditions here, and that it varies at Höljes the most, which I would tend to agree with.
Yeah, then I don't stand a chance.
No, we're especially not standing in a lovely dry commentary box, do we? Rather,
I'm a bit too warm, to be honest.
So it is hot in here, isn't it? It is.
I love how much camber gain there is on when they're on full droop over the jump like that. I really enjoy seeing the physics of a car in this way. I just think you learn so much. You watch him clip the curve now, so much deflection in the wheel. You can see the angle of the steering as he's correcting the car going to its side.
Well, these
lovely rotation into the Joker.
Brilliant, just backing it in. I often use look at that through.
More effective than his wiper.
Yeah, fairly slow, isn't it, the wiper? Luckily, he's not. But yeah, if you ever want to explain to somebody how a car works, you want to grab a cross car or even a radio control car where all the elements like this are exposed on the outside, and you can point out and go, right, that's the spring, it holds the car up. That's the damper, it stops the spring bouncing. These are the suspension arms. And straight away, people go, okay, I get it, because you can see it. And of course, on a car, it's all hidden away. And for us, from a commentary point of view, it's great to see all those inputs.
I was talking to, just before this race gets started, I was talking to Rally's Nordic yesterday, and he was saying that they'd got his new cross car for this weekend from the factory, and it had the base factory settings. He drove it in first practice and didn't think it was very good, so he went to the setup that he had in Denmark, and his guys were up till 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning or something, changing. And it's amazing that there's not that much to them, but they're just, you know, the incremental changes they make to the geometry.
Here, yeah, a little thing. He also said to me that he'd spoken to David Mayat, the factory driver from France, and said, right, this is the list of things you should do when you're coming to race in Nordic. And he said the car arrived and they hadn't done it. And so, yeah, basically, after free practice, I think they were something like P18, and they went and did all the things that Rally's had done to his car.
So he was pleased about that?
Yeah. Well, like I say, he was pleased to match.
It was right. I think he was pleased that you've said you need to do this. Someone hasn't followed it going their own way, and then realised that maybe you're doing the right thing. Gives you good confidence that you are on the right track.
And the fact that Mayer is such a highly rated factory driver, so you know, at the very height of the sort of the Spanish and French scene in cross car, your man's been out with a rake.
Potato patch.
Exactly. Just doing a bit of gardening in between sessions. Rally's Nordic on the inside from Andre Bendixen, Andreas Persson, Eric Anderson, Riku Hukar. It's Andreas Persson that is missing. Fairly low RPM compared to what you see. Normally, Rally's has got an absolute rocket of a start. Absolutely bang on the money that was with the RPM. He's 5-6 kart lengths in front as they go into the first corner. Now going to try and hold off, and he gets a little bit of contact from behind. I wonder whether or not that's going to damage the car of Anderson. And Anderson's run too wide with that contact, and now Bendixen up the inside. So Bendixen went into the Joker second there. Helen came out in front.
Yeah, Anderson just got so much understeer on the way in, didn't he, after that contact with Rally's? It would have picked the front wheels off the ground a little bit. By the time they come down, you apply the lock, you just can't do anything about it.
Can't steer when you're in the air, can you?
No, they don't do a lot, do they?
Front end, no. Now looking to the inside line, Bendixen goes high, Anderson goes low. Bendixen needs to know he's there. He does know he's there just about.
It makes me very nervous when they go side by side.
Oh, and he's dropped into the bottom of the hill. Big spin,
and
all
a
the way
brilliant
round.
save.
Yeah, styles that right out. That gets style points of the day, doesn't it? That's like a full-on 6, isn't it? An ice skating, a move like that.
It's almost like ice skating out there, isn't it? It's pretty slippery.
It certainly is. Nordic continues to lead and has got a decent gap over Hukar. I think the grid here, with respect to the various different drivers, you know, I'd maybe expect to see Anderson and Nordic in this one, maybe not so much Hukar and Bendixen at this stage. They're all great drivers, but it's another indicator that last session was very much up and down in terms of pace, and Hukar's doing a great job here going with Rally's.
I don't know if we've seen the best from Hukar yet, have we? Because he is, as you would say, super sendy. And maybe
Sandy
McSanderson, but maybe we haven't seen the ultimate lap time from him. Again, he's run wide there. Needs to be a little bit more patient. Missed the apex on the right-hander, but he's got it all straightened out ahead of the jump. But that'll come.
Sometimes I think you're just quite relieved to get to the end of a cross-car race, particularly in these conditions.
Yeah, I always felt like if a race was going very, very well, it ended too soon. And if it was hard work, even in Rallycross, you go another lap. You'd only done 3, but
it's like you're surely I've done 4 laps already. I can't have only done 3. Please wave the checkered flag. Sometimes though as well, even when it's going well, you're waiting for it to finish, aren't you? Because this is going so well, I don't want anything bad to happen. Bring the flag out.
Depends, doesn't it? If you're really in the rhythm, and that's how he's just enjoying driving so much, you just want to keep going, don't you? You want to get back in the car again tomorrow, or I mean, you know, immediately as soon as the vent ends, you want to get straight back in it. But
I normally want to get straight back in the car the second I've got out of the car.
Not necessarily in these conditions, because they're really frustrating, aren't they?
Yeah. Although this would be a great time to pick up your skills in terms of your pace and the patience and things. Look at Nitish again. Look at that, straight into the car. He's so patient again, Hal, but that's the level he's come from. I had a chat with him just before this session, and he was saying that he was, to be fair, he said he was tired of constantly trying to chase the budget to do Supercar. And he's enjoying this. He's the importer for this. He's working with his dad's company, as he always was, alongside being a semi-professional racing driver, and he's loving it.
Yeah, and I can see there's massive merit to doing that, isn't it? Hukar's done a pretty good job here to cover off Bendixson, who hasn't been slow and seems to be going pretty well today. We've missed that, haven't we?
Nitish has cost Kaspersky. Kaspersky is one of his sponsors, and he's just put, do you see on the side pods, they've closed it off. Not sure what it is, but he spoke to us about aerodynamics prior to this and said it was something they were working on, was the aero for the car as Bendixson. Oh, in the background, Anderson nearly had another spin. Bendixson's mud flap hanging off the car, maybe from a little tap on the wall there. Pretty hectic for the guys behind. Nitish out front has done a 3:40.3, which is quicker than the second race, but not as quick as Osterberg.
That's pretty handy, though, isn't it? And I think where he's struggling a little bit, we know he's been on the dyno and trying to extract more power, but
they've got more. He said, I asked him that. I said, "Did you get more or not?" He sent us a video, didn't he, of it on the rolling road the day.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. Yes. How many revs? A lot. So Nitish here, have a look and you can see the screen that Hal mentioned earlier. He's wearing the motocross goggles with the scrolling system in them to keep it clean, but that type of screen means you can always see where you're going. Left and right hand side of the car, you can see he's got the pods slightly closed off compared to normal. Tape over the catches that hold those on. And look at the water pouring out of the mud flaps. The exhaust is glowing. That's why you need to occasionally do Rallycross in the dark, by the way. If you're wondering, stuff glows all the while in Rallycross. Turbos, exhaust, brakes. Right. Larpety, Crepo, Baldins and Svard. Svard on the outside of the jump start last time. Won't want to repeat that. It's been going really well, but has been going really well, but has to dip the clutch off the line. Larpety, meanwhile, has got it all hooked up. And smoothly into the first corner. Larpety going to go standard lap. Is Svard going to go Joker? Yes, and change his mind at the last minute, and that's really mugged Baldins, who was going to go in there earlier. Hallen has lost all the momentum on the way into the Joker lap.
We've seen so many really good starts from the pole position, haven't we? And I think it'll be interesting to see how that goes in Supercar Lites and Supercar later on as well.
It can be to do with the camber of the road, can't it, sometimes, as to how that grid slot drains when it's properly raining.
Yeah, and how much rubber's been laid down over the course of the weekend. Like, I know we've said variable a lot, haven't we? But there's so many factors involved. It's so twitchy there from Larpety's car under braking into the right-hander at the bottom of the hill.
Svard has got that lit as well, like super sideways at the bottom of the hill. Look at this. You just know that if you brake 1 metre too late, it's magnified, isn't it? Any mistake in the wet is magnified. 1 metre too late, and it's taxi to the apex, and like big time.
And that's why it's so critical to be patient, isn't it? And I was talking to, we can talk about it in the lights, but I was talking to Tommy Holman in between these two races, and he was saying that sometimes you just need to be a little bit more careful. It's like touching the brake a little bit first before you really get into the brakes, just feeling the grip all the time.
But it's also about telling the car what you want it to, isn't it? I remember, who's the guy that teaches the F1 drivers the tarmac stuff on an airfield in a Vauxhall Astra? Rob somebody. But he's been renowned for doing it for donkey's years.
It'll come to me in a minute. Yeah, Crepu runs wide on the apex of the velodrome. That's actually the car that Rainis Nitish drove last time out, and it's exactly the same setup they're using this weekend. Can't quite get it done round the outside. Svard's through into second.
Rob Wilson.
Rob Wilson, yes, correct.
Thanks, Chip Pankow. Extra help in the commentary box today. Yeah, Rob was saying, I listened to a podcast with him recently, he said about communicating to the car before you tell it what you want it to do, and then you tell it what to do. Loading it up, really.
Oh, and a spin for the leader. Larpety goes round on the exit of the first corner. Sorry to interrupt, Andrew, but he's managed to save it. That was a better save than we saw from
Anderson in the
previous one, but he's not going to take the win.
And now he's flustered in the Joker lap.
What if he's got a problem?
Oh, yeah, no. Is it a puncture? Could it be? No. I think it's just full fluster mode, Hal. That would be so frustrating from the front to the back with the spin. And then the fact it was almost, you think he could maybe have gone standard lap there and Joker on the last lap, and at least you would have held up a couple of the cars behind you, but I think he'd still have lost out.
If you've survived a spin going through the first corner at Höljes, I think you just go for the bit of track you're pointing at, don't you? It's quite difficult to be composed at that stage.
Just as long as you're still on a piece of track. and facing the right direction. It's like the classic rally driver's problem, isn't it? If we've spun, are we even facing the right way up the road? So Svard goes on to the final lap.
Another Marcus Gronholm great quote. Which way do we go? As asking the spectators.
Bowden's there. Well, I thought Bowden's was for a second. I thought it was a fist pump, but it's not. Hal, he reached up and pulled.
He did it on the last lap as well.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fist pump last time around. He's just pulling the toggle on the goggles.
Or he's just stoked the whole time, and every time he crosses the finish line, he just has a little fist pump for making it round another lap.
If I was racing a cross car at Höljes, I'd be the same, I'm sure.
So would I, yeah.
Along with hanging on for dear life, of course.
Oh, that's cool, isn't it? Look at the inputs again. So Svard, who had that tricky jump start last time out, and has made up for it this time. Bowden's in P2. Bowden's had a rubbish start to this race and has managed to come back. Look at the inputs again. Although there are lots of them, they're they're very smooth and measured. Very smooth and measured. Not going to trouble those top times just, but it's not far off. 3:43. So again, we're seeing the closest times across the field of cross-car because the conditions changing.
I think it would have been much closer then, wouldn't it, if Lapperty hadn't dropped it on with 2 laps to go.
True, Lapperty could potentially have challenged the time of Osterberg with the run he was on. Unfortunately, he ends up a long way back. But the minute Osterberg's 3:38.7 still stands, we've got a 3:42, a 3:40 and a 3:43. So every one of these races, the winner has been within 4 seconds of everybody else out on track. You can see the dampers, look, with the socks on the front and on the rear as well. They've protected the canisters, look, tape them up. This is the spin. So that was into the crest in turn 1, and he's just come. That's such a tricky place, Hal, because it's really committed. If you come in there and you're backing it in like he was, he did do well, didn't he?
Looking out of the side window as to where the buggy was going to end up. He had loads of time to decide where he was going to go.
Yeah, good to think about it. Down the gears. I was talking yesterday with Ollie Eriksson and Frazier McConnell about the Hans devices and what type of tethers they were using. So I think Ollie's using fixed tether, whereas Frazier uses a sliding tether, which allows you to look out the side windows a little bit more. But Ollie might have been carrying somebody else's hands at the time, not sure, but it makes a big difference, doesn't it, Hal?
It does, yeah. Great start again from the pole position. That's Goodison on the inside, isn't it? That's a speed car, isn't it? And I wonder if it's a combination of chassis and that pole position slot, because yet again, an awesome start. He leads Hunne in second position. Katie Munnings with a reasonably clear view. The wiper on that Hanson Motorsport car's working well.
Spin for Alan Feller, so it's Alan's going to have to reverse that out of there. That's not ideal.
Another of the French drivers.
Yeah, Katie had a good old slide on coming over the crest, looking more comfortable in the car on each run. There you go, in the background, look, holding it. And that was what she said she couldn't do on day 1 with the steering issue. She couldn't hold a slide. It was just physically, it would get to a certain angle, and then you couldn't get the steering back in line. Peter Hain chasing down Per Goodison out front. Goodison, look at that on the exit of turn 1, and Peter Hain goes Joker. Goodison there, I think, lost confidence on the exit of turn 1 and then wasn't great on the brakes into turn 2. Katie's going to come up over the crest and might get this done here. She hasn't Joker, but she comes out in front of Peter Hain, who then clatters the barrier. So Hain, the suspension is intact on the rear, but he's lost time.
Pretty scruffy Joker that. Lots of inputs into the throttle. You saw turning in on the left, and Katie has another big slide. Look at the standing water coming into the velodrome. It's getting more and more difficult now, isn't it?
She's going well, though, isn't she?
She's going very well, yeah. They must be so difficult. I was just talking to Kenneth Hansen before, and these are not easy to get in and drive without any relevant experience.
Well, no, because we saw Thierry Neuville and Timmy Hansen struggle last year. And Graham Rodemark, if you're watching Graham, we know how much he loves driving a cross car around here. Being beaten by children down the hill, I think he said, didn't he? He was in 5th gear. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, terrified to death in 5th, and someone comes down the outside of you flat in 6th and pitches into the next corner.
He went up over the crest and did a huge jump. Oh, we had the best conversation ever with Graham at Linden Hill recently about it. Katie's going to come up over the crest here and might get Goodison, and she's still got a Joker, but this is all just relevant experience for her. And I think how, not getting dropped here on lap times either, for me, this is a big step forward for Katie.
It is, yeah. You can see she's a lot more confident moving the buggy around. A few little inputs, just feeling where the grip is. She's got understeer there, but getting in the throttle, getting the rear to rotate, and then it's not actually so bad running wide there in that corner when you can make more of a straight out of the next corner coming down the hill. She's not exactly under massive pressure, is she? She's doing a good job here.
So Katie is Timmy Hansen's teammate. Has Goodison spun? Yes, Goodison spins. Okay, Goodison has gone round. Peter Hain has had to avoid. So Katie now has got 2 laps to go. If I were the Hansen squad, I'd be on the radio and telling her to joker. Oh, sorry, last lap, of course. Last lap, she's going to have to joker now. So Katie Munnings is going to go joker. Could she come out in front and take her first heat race win? Peter Hain is coming in pretty quick. I think it's going to be tough. Hain should have just enough speed here. Come on, Katie, over the curves, left and right. On the gas now, going to try and close it. Moves across, tidily done. That's a good drive. Yeah, Katie basically competing in Extreme E with Timmy Hansen, has come here for racing experience, and she's certainly getting that help.
She is, yeah. And I'm impressed with how she's improved through the 2 events so far. Obviously, she had quite big problems with the car that they've now solved on Thursday. And it's all about, you know, quite a wide circuit as well, so she's learning where to find the grip as well on a rally stage. She comes from a rally background, and rally stages are usually pretty narrow, aren't they? So you don't have that option, but here you do, and it's much like the Extreme E tracks. She
was saying that Timmy was telling her you're not using, like, you know, he'd say, why did you leave? Oh, Katie, hold on to it. In the background, Peter ain't going to take it. It's a good save from Katie, still a good save right the way to the apex. Peter takes it, Katie slides it over the line. Nice one. Good drive. But yeah, she said that Timmy was saying, look, why didn't you use the half foot on the exit of the corner? And you know, that's just a rally driving thing of guaranteeing turning. You know, there isn't, the half foot might be the trees, and so you always guarantee the turning and leave a margin, unless you're talking power stage business. And Timmy was saying, look, you've got to use it. Got to use everything, every inch of the track.
And not only is Timmy one of the world's best rallycross drivers, but he also comes from a single-seater background, doesn't he? Where you use every single centimetre that the tarmac has to offer.
Fascinated still by the backgrounds of the world's top rallycross drivers. Rally, circuit, F1. Everybody wants to drive a supercar, don't they? I've still got my theory, Hal, you know, secretly everybody really wants to be a rally or a rallycross driver because it's just the coolest, isn't it? Driving on the gravel is what you're supposed to do.
I don't think it's a theory, it's just fact, isn't it?
Well, it really is, isn't it? It really is. I remember Coulthard getting out of the supercar in Barbados and just, well, I can't even tell you what he said, but there were swear words about how brilliant it was.
Matthias Ekstrom sat here at this circuit in 2013 listing all of the vehicles he's driven in his amazing career and said nothing is as good as a Rallycross supercar. And there's a man who's done like Race of Champions as well in all sorts of amazing stuff, DTM and NASCAR and all sorts. And yeah, to have people like that come and say that the first time they drive it is really special.
I love it. But you never see anyone get out of a supercar and go, It's always full commitment to how awesome it was.
Yeah, when you're trying to get someone to explain how a supercar is, there's a bit of
proper flames
from and they go, oh yeah, it's amazing, I can't believe it. You're like, oh, everyone says that, but it's true because it is amazing. You really have to drive on, mate. We need to sort.
Oh, you're gonna have to, yeah. We certainly are. Is at the top of the table, having won Q2 with a brilliant double car pass. It's David Mayat, the factory driver from France, who's in P2. Sindra Treuterud with the win in the first session. That's enough points. So that win in the first session for Treuterud has left them up in P3. Nittish is up to P4. Hallberg in P5. Rierson 6. Aaron and Eganson, Radstrom and Anderson. That is super, super competitive in Crosscar. On to Supercar Lites. At the minute, Tommy Howman leads. Howman has had a podium at every round so far. He won Q1 here. Then it's Osland, Anderson and Eklev, Sjokvist, Janssen, Olofsson, Jonsson, Enland and Exbuth are your top 10. Remember, there are 2 semi-finals for Supercar Lites. There are 3 for Crosscar. Right, here we go. Championship leader Tommy Howman on the inside from Osland, Anderson and Eklev and Sjokvist. Good start for all 3 of the inside cars, but it's Anderson from P3 and Howman from P1 who've got the best of them. Howman is inside Anderson, or Osland having a look up the inside of Anderson as well. Osland going to go Joker surely from there, goes straight to the Joker, that's what we thought. And Eklev has gone in with him, so Osland and Eklev to the Joker. Howman and Anderson both with a tidy start. Look at the difference there between Howman and Anderson's line. Howman backing it into the left-hander, Anderson much straighter and smoother on the way in.
Yeah, Howman obviously got good confidence in the car despite his limited mileage. Of course, Nils Anderson did all of last year as well, didn't he? I was actually wrong with talking about Howman using old wet tyres in his wet test in Finland. He actually used destroyed dry tyres in his wet test in Finland, which he was disappointed by because it doesn't actually give him a good representation of what the tyres are like. But actually, when the car's moving around so much, you really get to learn what its limitations are, don't you? And he's been doing such a good job in the first 3 rounds and again today.
Anderson was the foreman on day 1 on Thursday, but I think Houman is definitely, I mean, if he wins this championship at the first attempt, he's currently on 75 points with 2 wins and a P3. Niels Anderson was 5th and 4th in the semis back at Neeson, but 2nd here on Thursday. So Anderson really did well on Thursday, was super happy with his pace, but the conditions are so completely different. Osland's on a big push, and look, Annette Clev has lost out to Sokvist. Sokvist gets in front.
Talking to Per Anderson, Niels' father, during the break, and he was saying just what a great position Niels is in, especially working with Johan Kristoffersen, his teammate. Johan's almost like a mentor and the engineer of the car. You know, Johan's able to give so much of his knowledge to what they're doing, and Per was just saying what a massive change it is. It's night and day different to last year. Niels is so comfortable. He works with Johan on his fitness, his mental side. You know, it's almost invaluable to have that on your side. Tommy
was saying, wasn't he, that they expect their drivers to come into the workshop before school and go there again after school. Like this is interesting talking to Tommy about Johan. You know, the obsession with the cross-country skiing, then moving on to, you know, a further obsession, if you like, with Rallycross and making sure that all of the little details were correct. Everything.
And that's where you gain, isn't it? Per was also saying, you know, 12 months ago, they'd be going around the paddock looking at what their competitors were doing, you know, trying to get a little sneak at what settings they're running, maybe the tyres. So now we don't do any of that. We just focus on our own thing in our own tent and our own game. And it's paying off, isn't it? You don't let yourself get distracted by what other people are up to.
And it's exactly what Johan says, isn't it? I focus on what I can control, and I think that's what the best drivers do. There is no... You have to have a lot of self-belief to do that, and that's clearly coming for Anderson too. So Houman is gapping Anderson just a little bit. They both go joker this lap. Watch for Osland and Anderson at the merge. I think Anderson will just about have enough, but it's got to be a good joker. Osland's coming in hot, going to shut the door. Osland backs it in on the brakes, but there's just about half a car's length between them.
In jest, Niels was saying that he held his friend Linus Osland a little bit responsible for him not winning yesterday, because he was so wary of how much pressure Osland was applying to the back of his car that he didn't really know how hard to push and he couldn't get away. But a big moment for Holman, and he also had one in the Joker, didn't he? Pushing really hard, as is Linus Osland.
The bump in the background is getting a bit bigger where the gravel goes onto the tarmac. Houman, though, coming around, going to take the checkered flag again, and we'll be hoping that'll be enough to be fastest. There are still some quick drivers to come, the likes of Olofsson and co. But that's a good, clean run for Houman. 3:28, I think it was. Screen steaming up just slightly for Houman, but on the opposite side of the car. That's where you want it. You don't really want it anywhere, but if it's going to be anywhere not in front of your sight, your line of sight. 5.99, look, is the split. 3:28. Anderson was almost 4 seconds back in the end. Looking a bit unstoppable, Hal.
He is, isn't he? But there's nothing dramatic. Well, okay, I think he was pushing quite hard into the Joker. Got a little bit out of shape, and then again later in the lap. But he doesn't look wildly out of control. He's not
using all the curb there. You know, if you look at how much curb some people use in that section, well, they use more than the curb. They hook it up around the back edge. Union Jack. That must be for Katie. So there's a flag there for each nationality of the drivers.
Maybe it's for you, mate.
But could be, couldn't it? For the broadcast team representing. I had a cup of tea earlier. Looks everyone was highly entertained in OMSE when I had a cup of tea. Fraser said, how very British of you.
I remember Susan Hansen finding it hilarious when Andrew Jordan and I were seeking out tea many years ago.
There's only coffee in Swedish paddocks. We just need boiling water. And please don't make coffee in the teacup, the teapot. It's just no good. It's the details. Kasper Janssen on the inside line of Olofsson. Janssen's got a good start, gets in Olofsson's door. Olofsson goes all the way across the grid sideways around the outside. Martin Experth, how's he held on to that? Going to break and go standard lap. Experth from sideways in turn one to the whole shot on the inside line. Meanwhile, into the Joker lap, Kasper Janssen leading of the two cars have gone. That was amazing, Hal.
It was, yeah, and poor old Simon Olofsson. He had an amazing time in Denmark, didn't he, until his weekend was cut short by a broken belt. And I think he had contact with almost every car in the first couple of corners there. It's just not going his way at the moment. And now
Casper Janssen, it's going his way. Look, he's onto the back of them already again.
And Olofsson's in the worst position now, isn't he? Because he hasn't jokered. He's stuck in the front train. I think being at the back of the front train is often the worst place to be because you can't make progress and you've only got the guys catching him behind.
Enland's gone wide. Enland's gone wide. Going to be late on the brakes. Olofsson's trying to look through. Enland might go deep. Casper Janssen is with them already. What's the gap from the leader to Janssen on this one here? Or into each other, into the door. Enland sideways. Janssen just makes the pass. Olofsson has had an absolute shocker here. A little bit of contact cost him some time. I'll tell you what, Janssen's going to want Enland out the way at this rate.
It was 2.8 seconds, but then there was all that kerfuffle as well. I don't think Janssen lost any time with that, did he really? He just made hay while the sun was shining in the rain here at Höljes. Olofsson's having a nightmare, isn't he? Just not going his way yet again.
Going to have to gather his head together, I think, Olofsson. I'm not saying that he's lost his head, but he's going to have to gather it up now and go back into the Munnings in Denmark. Looks to the inside line of Janssen. Here comes Enland down the hill. Janssen in the background, keeping it smooth. I'd say these two have stabilised that gap with Casper Janssen in P3.
Enland's tidied up a little bit, hasn't he, from the previous lap? He was a bit wild on lap 1, on the exploratory mission that is.
Great drive by Experth here, considering how exciting turn 1 was for Experth.
And his lack of experience.
Yeah, neither of them go joker, so they're both holding on. I might have gone just to cover off Janssen and Olofsson behind. I guess they'll be looking at Casper as well. That curve, the curves here are big, aren't they?
They are, and they can really help you here in the wet by just hooking the inside wheel over the top of them and keeping you in as wise. And that's the other alternative, is when the wheel hooks in and rotates the car, Janssen follows over the same bit of dirt kicked up over that curb.
Look at the hole down the hill. You can see Experth's car and in P3 Janssen's car look better capable over that bump than Enland's is. I just wonder if there's a slight difference. Casper's dropped it in the background. Casper Janssen holds on to it just about. When you have that moment, it goes all the way down deep into the apex and the braking zone of the last corner. Right, now we're going to find out whether or not Casper Janssen can take this from P3. Experth, Enland go into the joker lap. Look on the inside line. Casper Janssen needs to keep it tidy. Experth not the greatest entry. He's a bit deep on the first portion of it. Going to come across the merge. Taps the barrier. Oh, Janssen just misses him. Enland comes in all crossed up around the outside. Fantastic. I'll tell you what, he's been on some ride. Experth in this one. Sideways in turn 1. Somehow held onto that. Slots into P3. Enland just in front, but Casper Janssen, how that was like, that they were so close to swapping paint at the merge, so close.
The seas have parted for him several times in this race, haven't they? But that's to take nothing away from him. He's driving brilliantly, and like we've said all weekend, he was pushing so hard in Denmark, and reining it in just a little bit, especially in these slippery conditions, is absolutely paying off.
Brilliant job by Casper Janssen. He's not going to win my gold medal for Sendage this weekend, but he is going to win this heat race. It's a brilliant drive, and for me, he continues to impress. What was the time? 3:36, so it's not as quick as they were going earlier. It's really hard at the minute to tell whether that's due to the pace of the drivers or the relative track development. Casper takes it 3:36.3. Ended up 1.5 seconds ahead of Enland. Martin Experth, I kind of want to see that turn 1 again and see what Experth did. We might if we're lucky. Now this is the merge. Here we go. Watching the inside. Experth taps the barrier, and at this point, oh my! That is, you couldn't get closer than that, could you? Here it is again. Watch. Look at this angle. Dirt flies up. Casper Janssen on the inside. How close? Oh, that close.
If he'd have made contact with the wheel there, not just the bodywork which flexed out of the way, that would have been a big spin for Janssen, because he was carrying a lot of speed there as well.
Wow. Good on Casper Janssen. Had a target. It was a gap that was ever closing, kept it lit, and somehow got through. Mats Oskarsson, Gustav Bergström, Gregory Foss, Natalie Peterson, Ida Tornhold. It was Bergström who finished the race in reverse last time out. He had Tommy Christofferson on the radio. Johan messaged me just before the session saying my dad was on the radio going, reverse, reverse. He did. He got the finish line. Not going to get the start this time, though. Mats Oskarsson on the inside has had a great one. Ida Tornhold outside, though, might be able to shut the door across from P5. All the way in from the 5th slot on the grid. Sometimes you can carry that momentum from P2. In goes Mats Oskarsson. I think good decision, although will have lost time making it that late, Hal. I don't know, from P2, maybe not. Door open as well. Not sure.
He did have broken rear suspension, as we suspected in the previous race, and didn't finish. Ida Tornhold, meanwhile, up front. She's a debutant into the lights this year, but she did a proportion of her testing in the snow and ice up in the north of Sweden, especially when they were around the time they were launching the new Race of Champions concept. So she's used to driving in low grip conditions, and that's paying off here in these wet and slippery. Although you obviously use studded tyres in the ice, so you actually have more grip than you think. Because Bergström runs wide in the background.
Oh, Bergström's having a day of it.
It always helps to drive in different variations of grip, doesn't it? Not just dry tarmac, for example.
Oh, massively. We said it on Thursday. I think that more drivers should go and try driving on the lakes 100%. Just for over
when they're
the
frozen
limit.
over.
Yeah, I've heard some stories about people driving on lakes that aren't quite frozen enough, even of crazy Norwegians driving on lakes with life jackets on, which always worries me.
I think Andreas Eriksson has a story about that. Maybe
really?
People could go and ask him about it if they wanted to.
Maybe in a convertible with a life jacket on. It's the getting out that bothers me, and it's pretty cold as well. If the lake's partly frozen, it's not a swimming situation for me. I noticed Johan and Timmy Hansen, Johan Kristoff and Timmy Hansen this year were ice swimming during the winter.
You are a swimmer though, so maybe you'd like it.
Maybe. I prefer my swimming at, 20, 30, well, 30 degrees ideally, Celsius that is.
Big moment for Foss in the background.
Yeah, Foss just holds on, misses the outside. Tornholt leading. Tornholt might get this. Oh, Foss is joking already. Oh, no, Bergström facing the wrong way again. Reversal first for this one. Trying to get it straightened out. So slippery. Through the joke lap, Ida Tornholt goes in, going to come out the other side. Gregory Foss has made that mistake, and it's cost. So Ida Tornholt out in front's got 1.5 laps to go. So jokered early, and that's a good decision. Probably seen the issues there and decided to go joker now. And now Oskarsson is making Foss's life difficult. Yeah,
Tornholt wasn't super committed through the joker lap, was she? It's so difficult in Rallycross when you only do the joker lap once. So really, since warm-up this morning, all of these drivers have done the joker on 2 of their laps. So you don't really know where the grip levels are. And for someone with her experience, I think caution is the better approach there. Bergström's car's a little bit in the way. Oskarsson gets all out of shape into the last corner of the penultimate lap, but nothing untoward.
Tornholt's going to come under pressure here. Foss and Oskarsson are closing that gap down. Oskarsson's gone wide. He's going to look up the inside. Surely not into turn 1 from there. No, Oskarsson's just made a mistake, I think. So Tornholt now's got to keep a clear head and hold off Foss. I think the best chance to pass will be up at the velodrome. Velodrome was widened a couple of years back. If you look, so as they come through the right-hander, you're never going to see it in these conditions, but there's a strip of tarmac that was added to the right-hand side, and that gave you the high-low option. There it is, you could see it, actually. And that's made a big difference for me for the racing in the velodrome since.
It has, yeah. It's made it much more open, hasn't it? They've also felled all the trees, so it means you can't see where the line is going over the first jump, but that's another story on this incredible roller coaster circuit.
Yeah, one of the trees was felled by a supercar 2 years ago. That's why the rest of the trees were felled. Nobody realised you could get to them from the velodrome, but somebody managed it in a European supercar race. Ida Tornholt going to take the race win here. It's a 3:40 something, so it's not going to trouble the top time. Tommy Howman wins the session. And we've been joined in the commentary box by Katie Munnings. Katie, welcome along.
Hello, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. How was that? You looked so much more from our seat. You looked really much more comfortable in the car on that last run. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really enjoying it now. Yeah, a couple of days ago, I was just really struggling. I didn't understand how they were sliding around the corners, and I was thinking these guys are absolute magicians if they can do that. But yeah, we figured some stuff out on the test yesterday, and it was kind of like a breakthrough. And now it just, I can control the car and have fun with it and throw it around and yeah, get out of shape, which is what we're all here for, isn't it?
Yeah, so, well, look, we saw you and your dad last night for a brief meeting, and we asked you, look, how are you getting on with Rallycross? And your response to the whole starts thing was my favourite. You're loving it, aren't you?
Yeah, the adrenaline on the start line. From the outside, I looked at it and I thought, oh, that's going to be my least favourite part of the race because it looks so intense and it looks absolute carnage. But when you're in it, it's the most exciting. Even if you lose it, it's so exciting. I absolutely love it.
So this was Katie earlier on. So this is you from the outside.
Yeah, not bad.
Nice assessment. We have had Katie on commentary before, but I'm loving seeing you out in the buggy. So tidy into the joker lap, and this was going to be coming through towards the merge.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are so specialist, aren't they? Just learning from these guys and how they chuck the buggy around. When I was doing the first few practices of the weekend, I could not believe how they were driving. You know, they're masters of it. It's so niche, so specialised, and yeah, learning the racing from them is awesome.
This was where we thought you just looked a lot more comfortable in the car. Then, particularly through Velodrome, you were able to choose your line and then hold a slide through the exit. I know you had a steering issue on day one, which meant things weren't quite so easy. Little flick on the way in. Are you dry?
Do you know what? It was one of those moments. Under that, I didn't have any tear-offs, so I didn't really know what to expect for Rallycross. So I had some like welding goggles on, and they steamed up so much I couldn't see anything. And then I went through a muddy puddle, and it was pure motorsport. I was like, this is so cool. Going up through the gears, couldn't see anything, and it was just the best feeling in the world.
Oh, I'm so glad you're enjoying it. I really am. Now, you've got an Extreme E race coming up, of course, in 10 days' time. You're headed by 11, I suppose, now, Senegal for round 2 of Extreme E. You looking forward to that?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a bit drier, so that's going to be nice.
Yeah.
The mosquitoes I don't think will be as nice, though. But yeah, I think it's going to be an amazing race. I don't really know what to expect from it. Haven't really seen any track maps, or it's quite a raw form of motorsport. There's not a lot of prep that you can do. So it's nice just to spend time with Timmy before we go and keep in the flow of it.
I spoke to Timo Scheider the other day, who's on the track design team, but he didn't give me any clues, I'm afraid. So I'll be commentating that from London while you're out in Senegal. I think we're all hoping for a bit less dust because I want to see some racing. And I guess now you've got stuck in here, you're probably a bit more up for that?
Yeah, I think we're all kind of anticipating it. You know, I think this actually is, you know, people want to see racing, don't they? And the fans, that's what people tune in for. So I think hopefully we'll get a lot more of that in Senegal. Hopefully the dust won't be as thick as it was in Saudi, and we'll be able to choose some different lines. I think it's going to be a kind of different format. We'll be on the beach, but then we're going off-road to some gravel areas, which hopefully will add a bit of variety to the race.
Sounds good, doesn't it? Certainly sounds a lot drier than it is here.
It does sound a lot drier. And gravel beat, you'll be a bit more at home on the gravel as well. You're coming from a rally background. I mean, it's going to be awesome, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope I just don't try and drive it like one of these buggies, though. I've got really into this rear-wheel drive flow. If I do that, the team are just going to stand there and laugh at me when I spin on the first corner.
I was going to say, I don't think it'll be over the moon. The centre of gravity of an Extreme E car and the weight is, what, I think 4 times higher than it was. We've got a Union Jack up for you, Katie.
That's special.
Yeah, I didn't know if you knew, but that's a tradition here at RallyX Nordic. I don't know if they had to dig that out or not. Probably not, actually, because we've had Liam, haven't we, here in the World Championship, so he would have had the flag up. It was Frazier McConnell whose flag they had to search for the first year when he came here. He leads after Q1 with a brilliant drive in wet conditions. It's Anton Markman in P2, Johan Kristoffersson P3. An issue with the turbo hose, dropping him off the pace. That's to take nothing away from Frazier. Probably one of the best drivers I've ever seen him do. Niklas Gronholm, saw he posted on Instagram that there was a little bit of work to do. And on the outside, Sabo. McConnell got an absolutely blinding start from slot number 1 last time out. Watch for Kristoffersson in 3. Oh, but it's Gronholm made with the fastest reaction time away from the line, but McConnell's got another brilliant start. Oh, Gronholm tries to shut the door, gets a little bit sideways, contact behind from Kristoffersson. Markman somehow holds on to P3. Surely Gronholm goes joker from there. He does. It's a late decision, and Kristoffersson's gone in with him. Sabo down at the back of the pack. Frazier McConnell with another brilliant start, and he leads again, Hal.
And a brilliant opportunistic move from Anton Markman as well to get up the inside after not brilliant getaway. How sideways was Niklas Gronholm when they run to the first corner, being pushed in the rear quarter. Great idea for him to go joker. Now the GRX team need to not get him held up behind Sabo because he's closing on him fast.
Sabo will surely move out of the way, although as I say that, he finds more traction on the exit of Velodrome. There's that wonderful camera. Markman's dropped it. Markman spins at the bottom of the hill. Going to end up in the gravel trap on the outside. Straightens the car up, where is he? He's at the back of the pack, so Markman goes backwards over the crest jump. We've got... it's Sabo and Gronholm just in behind, and they're getting held up big time here.
GRX need to joker Christian Sabo right now. Get him out of the way of Niklas Gronholm, because now they've got Anton Markman out of the way. He can get chasing Frazier McConnell. I'll be amazed if Sabo doesn't joker. He does. Look, a late call. I think really he wasn't committed going in, was he?
Really late. There would have been no point in keeping him out whatsoever. That was just going to harm Gronholm. Kristoffersson looks to me like he's got a little bit more pace. Look how close he is behind, but he can't quite find a way through. Maybe level up on the way to Velodrome. No, Kristoffersson knows better. Going high. Kristoffersson goes high now, going to drop the car down low and look for traction on the exit. Managed to make the pass there in the previous session, but not this time, Hal.
The Hyundai does have great traction, doesn't it? You see, he was pushing on as if he had too much understeer through the Velodrome, but it straightened out and just drove, whereas Kristoffersson really threw the Polo at the entry.
Frazier McConnell now has got a bit of a choice to make here, his spotters, because I suspect Gronholm is going very quickly. So do they hold on and try and edge out a bit more of a gap? It's going to depend whether or not Gronom's closing him down. If he's closing him down, they might send him Joker, but there's no point if the gap's too small. And Fraz stays out, so McConnell stays out for this one. He's going to go Joker on the last lap.
I think Markland's far enough away. McConnell runs a bit wide. He's looking really confident in his car, running into the looser dirt. Christophersen's all over the back of Nicholas Gronholm. He'll be
contact.
He'll be loving this in one way because he's challenging a World Championship specification car in the KMS Polo, but at the other hand, he needs to get by. He's fighting for this championship. Nicholas was only here for one weekend.
Looking up the inside. I don't think Jarno taking any risks after what he said in the studio the other day. He said, I need to start thinking about the championship. And he just wants to win. McConnell tight on the inside line coming through. How, what's the gap?
Johan went for a 10th quicker than Nicholas did in the last run, but it's largely irrelevant, isn't it, if he can't find a way by.
Frazier McConnell going to go Joker this time round. They come out the final corner. Christophersen loses a little bit of length there on Gronholm. Flames from the back of the KMS Polo. In goes Frazier McConnell now. I think Gronholm might be too close, but it's going to be close. It's another good lap from Frazier McConnell. Going to try and get in between the two cars. Shuts the door. Gronholm's there. Christophersen isn't. Frazier McConnell gets into that gap between them. And Christophersen gets into the back of the Jamaican's car. Two wheels up on the curb on the outside. He might look to the inside line now. He'll try and mug Fraz in the final corners if he can. Frazier's got it held tight. He does get to the inside. Oh, a little bit more traction. McConnell stays out of the way. He was alongside Anderson there and it ended badly for Anderson. Good decision by Frazier. Great driving by Christophersen as he nicks the spot on the exit of the velodrome. Up and over the crest. It's a good drive by Gronholm. He got the laps done. Managed to get McConnell. McConnell managed to hold off Christophersen. He's passed him on that last lap. It's Gronholm who wins Heat 1 of Q2.
Brilliant tactics from GRX to get Szabo out of the way. For whatever reason, Szabo didn't have the pace. Markland is going to finish the race despite a big puff of smoke after he spun the car down the hill. Oh, he's got a rear right puncture as he crosses the finish line. Brilliant from GRX. Had they not jokered Szabo, Gronholm wouldn't have beaten McConnell then.
Fantastic. Back of Markland's car is looking a little bit second-hand to say the least. What a brilliant qualifying race. I do love a decent qualifying race for Joker. McConnell did well. I wasn't sure he had enough time to get out at all in between Gronholm and Christophersen, and he did. Christophersen did really well to get him up at the velodrome. That's that, just applying that bit of pressure. He gave him a little nudge, didn't he, on the way? Nothing untoward, just, okay, drone shot. Have a look at this. So look at Gronholm, he's already sideways. How I reckon he's pulling gears whilst being pushed at 45 degrees down the road.
You can't lift there in a four-wheel drive car because all that'll happen is the car will start rotating more and then you're going to end up in a massive accident. And he's made such a brilliant call there. He's closing on McConnell, decided to go Joker. Christophersen doesn't really have an option either because he's lost out to Markland also in the first corner. There's Markland's spin. Did he already have a puncture? It looks like...
Oh, yeah, that stumped something through the exhaust, hasn't it, there,
yeah,
just
half
for a
turbo,
moment.
maybe. But he's got the piece picked of the puncture up later on, hasn't he?
Okay, on to race 2. Supercar. Katie, we will come and have a chat with you in just a second. I'm sure we'll have time to breathe once we get on to race 3, maybe. But we've got Katie Munnings in the commentary box with myself, Andrew Coley and Hal Ridge. Hope you're enjoying watching this from home. This is a normal Rallycross weekend. We haven't had one for quite a while, so that means you're going to have to wait until tomorrow for Q3, Q4 semis and finals. Evgen, Eid, German, Bakkerud and Hedstrom. Bakkerud, remember, in the ERX Electric start, gets a good start. But the best start from the inside line, Sondra Evgen by a mile. Enzo Eid's been left on the grid. German slots into P2. So I wonder what Eid will do from the back there, whether he might go Joker straight away. No, he does, and he has to change his mind, Hal, because 2 cars went in front, and Enzo's a bit unlucky there. He's lost an extra second that he didn't want to.
But it was so important that he did that because, with all due respect to Hedstrom, he's in one of the oldest cars in the field, in chassis number 7 of the OMSE fleet. So he could easily have got held up. So the better thing to do was to get his own clean air there.
Through the left-hander at the back of the circuit. Bakkerud, we thought in the wet conditions wasn't suffering quite so much with the tyres overheating, which was what he said. He really has to manage the tyres just with the extra weight and the extra torque of the ERX start. But he won his heat race last time out in the wet conditions. Evgen waiting on the throttle, then light up at the exit. A little bit earlier there, and you can see the difference. German gets on the throttle just a little bit earlier, and the nose runs wide.
I think German's quietly doing a pretty good job in an older specification car compared to 2 Audis.
Eid's made a mistake in the background, hits the wall. Eid came through turn 1. He was a little bit too deep on the crest, got on the brakes, and he couldn't get the weight to come back the other way. Hal, he's buried that in the gravel trap. That's somewhere Markland's familiar with.
Meanwhile, German's jokered, hasn't he? Come out ahead of Bakkerud, who jokered on the first lap. How similar was that? German's run a little bit wide. Bakkerud's gone tight on the run up to Velodrome, but he's not going to manage to cut back. doesn't get any rotation done on the entry. He's still learning this car, isn't he? The different weight balance and the different propulsion method.
So Evgen, 3:24.3 is the target time. He's got another 2 and a bit laps to go.
Oh, Gurman all out of shape in the background ahead of the jump, but he's closer to Evgen than maybe we would think. I think Evgen's safe here, isn't he?
He can stay out another lap. I certainly would. I think he'll stay out another lap and get another decent lap time in. He's going to try and edge that gap. Katie, this is something that's been new to you, the whole spotting joker thing. You just don't know how useless are the mirrors on a rallycross car. You can be honest.
To be honest, I haven't got time to think about the other people. I'm just trying to stay on the road and not spin it. So yeah, I heard you say I closed the door on someone yesterday. To be honest with you, Andrew, I didn't even see them.
Just slammed the door in his face without even knowing he was there. It's a wild experience. What's it like? Who's in your ear? Kenneth or?
No, I've got Eric. So yeah, he's
Eric Farr and Sebastian Loeb's old spotter.
Yeah, he's amazing, and he knows exactly just the right amount of info to give you. I'm like Timmy. I need someone telling me to push all the time. So it's really nice that he knows that filter, and yeah, he does a great job.
Oh, Eric Farr is a brilliant supercar driver himself. Made it to the semi-finals, maybe the final here one year at Höljes, but he's a great driver. I've seen him spannering up at the Hansons this weekend, and looking after Loeb. Both times Loeb won in the World Championships. You've got a good spotter there, KT. Evgen has done a great job here, slides the car out. Gurman's a long way back now, falling in further into the clutches to backward. Hal, do you think the time's at risk or not?
It is a bit wetter, isn't it? But Gurman's been quietly going about it. We haven't got the lap times from the previous session on the time screen, and we were so excited by that previous race. I didn't write down the fastest lap time either.
Oh, 3:24.3, it's on the screen. We should know that by now. Yeah. So, but in terms of lap times, not quite sure whether or not Evgen's on it. He's got about 10 seconds to go. It could be close. Wait and listen to the throttle control here. I don't think he's got quite enough. Not far off though. 3:25.5, just 1.2 seconds back. Good drive, Sondre Evgen. That might be enough to see him up into P2, P3 in the session. And with the greatest respect to the drivers coming in the final supercar race, I don't think they're going to trouble the times of Evgen or Gronholm, because that's 2 good drives there. Enzo Ede parked at the side of the road.
That was very similar to the crash Anton Marklund had there in 2015, wasn't it? When he clipped wheels with Daniel Holton driving Per Exon's Beetle on the Beetle's debut and ended up heavily in the wall, did a lot of damage to the car. That wasn't quite as big an impact, so I think the car will be okay, but it was still heavy. Yeah,
Enzo couldn't quite get the weight to come back the other way. Now, okay, the good thing about this situation for Enzo is they've got all night to fix the car. Yeah, if this had happened on Thursday, Hal, might be different. So Enzo's lost the start here up front. You can see Evgen has easily got it. Backward has a look then to go joker, and Hedstrom changes his mind, having given Gurman a little kiss on the way into the corner. Backward's got the inside line covered. Hedstrom gives him a tap as well. Backward's doing a really good job with the ERX car for me. First time he's driven, electric rallycross. I think he's doing a tidy job.
Yeah, I agree. He's just going about it quietly and learning. He knows it's a big process, but it's so astute of him to be doing that now. The opportunities have risen. The sport's heading in that direction across the board, isn't it? And getting this under his belt now is going to prove valuable.
How interesting livery on Enzo Ede's roof. I know you know what's on there, so you can tell us about it.
It's his son, isn't it? And yeah, why not?
I love it. It's great, isn't it? Super proud. Enzo is loving his rallycross. There he is. Look, he's come
strange
through.
Accent now. I wonder if there's been a problem with the throttle or something. Easy for you to say or me to say. But
he looked like he'd come into a little bit too hot to turn 1. But yeah, I know.
But
well,
it's a long way.
It's a
long way between 1 and 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you would be able to get the rotation done, especially in a supercar with the diff release and the handbrake to get it turned in. You wouldn't normally go straight on like that. Evgen, I'm impressed by him. Really patient driving in these conditions, especially when he's been a little bit frustrated in the past with things not quite going his own way.
That was close at the back there between Gurman and Backrud. It was Backrud who got it, but only by just 0.2 of a second. So Ede's car is on the scoop and will be coming back to the paddock.
Is Enzo still inside? I think he might be.
Oh, might as well. It's wet. You don't want to get out and get your race suit wet, do you, Katie?
I know a lot about that this weekend.
We're going to have a catch up with somebody in the paddock. Let's see who we got. I think we heard Hansen.
Well, Kevin, you're down here spotting. You're usually obviously behind the wheel of the car and now spotting. How are you finding it so far?
Well, amazing. Well, I don't know yet, to be honest, because Oliver is just about to go out. So, but I'm super excited. This is such a fun challenge for all of us to do it together a bit and showcase the future of Rallycross. These cars are amazing. I drove it yesterday, and I'm jealous about to Oliver about going out because I want to go out there so badly. So it's going to be really fun, and it's the first time I have Oliver on the radio, so it's going to be a real experience.
And you'll be driving the car tomorrow, won't you, as part of this challenge?
Yes, correct. So me, Marcus and Oliver are all in the same team, and I will be driving twice tomorrow, so I'm really excited about that.
We'll let you get your strategy dialed in. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thank you, guys.
So if you're wondering what on earth's going on here, this is RX2E, which will be coming up shortly. And it's a bunch of very, very good rallycross drivers demonstrating the support category to the World Championship that's coming up, the electric version of the RX2 car. I'll run through the teams and the grids once we get this final supercar race out of the way. Andreas Karlsson, Anders Michalak, Ale Fucik, Henry Harpamaki and Chuchu on the outside. Harpamaki got an amazing start last time in the electric start and gets another brilliant one here. Won't have any gears to change on the run to the first corner, but Karlsson just beats him there. And then up the inside, Michalak has a look as well. Harpamaki will surely stop that in time. And around the outside, good decision by Chuchu from P5 to carry the speed all the way in. Hal, he didn't change his mind late and he'll gain a couple of tenths there. Yeah, nicely rotated on the throttle, wasn't it? He really had no alternative but to go to the Joker. Fortunate for him that no one went in front, changing the mind at the last minute. Michalak had a big stab on the throttle, didn't he, going to the first corner to stick it back up the inside. But yet again, pole position has been a brilliant position to start from for Anders Karlsson. Fucik having a look to the inside as Michalak lights the tyres up and slides a little bit wide. Katie, you come from a rally background. Obviously, the Extreme E thing, you know, is a mega career step for you. But now we've tried Rallycross as well. I know you want to stay in Extreme E as long as you can. That's a given. You know, it's the pinnacle of electric off-road racing for you at the moment. Are you tempted by Rallycross now? Like, is it you? There's so many career options now. You've tasted so many different brilliant off-road motorsports. Yeah, I mean, it kind of blew me away this weekend. It's like being born again, you know? That sense of adrenaline. So exciting. Absolutely, I'd love to. Harpamaki slots in just in front of Karlsson. Karlsson maybe should have waited there, Hal. Questionable joker like that. Yeah, why would you joker when you have that gap from the lead? You're not under pressure. Now all Harpamaki's going to do is destroy Andreas Karlsson's race time by still needing to joker. He might stay out for another 2 laps yet and things will get even slower. And he's entitled to do that. You know, he's entitled to go when he wants. I don't understand, you know, just wait one more lap and now the mistakes come in. Fantastic example of understeer and oversteer in the same corner from the 2 leading cars. I think we've seen a lot of that this weekend, aren't we? It's terminal understeer followed by over-enthusiastic oversteer. Karlsson looks to the inside maybe at turn 1. The weight will mean that Harpamaki might have to brake slightly earlier, but the car's looking good. The starts of what has impressed me in the wet. Harpamaki goes, that releases Karlsson. Yeah, been really impressed. You think how early the torque comes in. I mean, Katie, actually, we can talk to you about that. What's it like in the Extreme E cars going off the line when you've got so much torque? How do you manage it? Yeah, it's mega. Yeah, just foot to the floor and keep it there, to be honest with you. We had really good traction off the line when we were in Saudi. But yeah, it's instant torque. I mean, even coming out of hairpins, wherever you are, it's a different driving style in electric. You don't need to carry as much momentum because you know, well, obviously you want to be fast, but if you get yourself in a moment, it's much easier to recover from it without losing too much time. And it's fun, isn't it? Yeah, it's so much. I mean, it is so fast. Me and Timmy were joking about this earlier. You sit there on the start line and you wonder if it's turned on, and then you touch the pedal and it's just a massive shock. And it just goes, yeah. That's exactly what Andreas Baku was saying. He missed the start in the first qualifier on Thursday morning because normally you're sat there with the handbrake pulled and the ALS banging and there was just nothing going on. He was like, oh, now we need to go. Because, you know, there's none of the drama. It's just a completely new experience. Yeah, he just didn't know what to do. It was hilarious because he was explaining just how simple the start was, but also he completely messed it up and basically, I think, you know, mugged himself and said, yeah, I'm a bit stupid. But he's done a great job since then, winning races in the dry and the wet. We're about to see an all-electric race in a moment. As I say, stick around. RX2E. Super Team Challenge, Andreas Eriksson has named it. We've got a WhatsApp group with a whole host of star names in it and some quite hilarious messages. One for the book. Karlsson out front. Michalak hasn't joked. You're seeing Fucik in a battle with Chuchu. Chuchu's managed to get Fucik and Harpamaki with that first corner joker. Karlsson takes it. Michalak appears to have not jokered. Hal, is that a timing screen anomaly or? The timing screen's indecisive in front of me. I'm not really sure. Okay, that's fine. What was the time?
3:35.434.
So a good 10 seconds slower than the others, so it doesn't really matter, I'm afraid. Track conditions continue to change. Right, on to RX2E. Katie, have you got 5 minutes to stick around? Or
Yeah.
Perfect, okay. It's an electric race, so we've got a driver with us with electric experience. Carlston with a 3:35.4. But we're going to get you prepped for electric coming up next. That was a great start look from Harper Mackey in the electric starred car, but then just maybe gave away a little bit too much on the run into the first corner. How need to go a little bit deeper, be a little bit braver on the brakes.
Fuchik was having quite a confused moment there, wasn't he? I really think he should have gone Joker rather than follow 3 other cars through the second corner. Choo Choo saw it coming, had a bit of contact, then ducked out of it, went into the Joker. And that's what Andreas Carlsen did a lap later. There's a penalty, number 24. That's for Choo Choo for pushing, a 3-second penalty.
Okay, that's not ideal.
They both
I would suggest looking at the bumper on the front of Choo Choo's car there that him and Fuchik have been into each other several times. And he got a little bit, yeah, says Hal Ridge. Laura Winter is with a legend of motorsport, a giant, both in terms of his height and his titles. She's with Marcus Gronholm. Let's hear his thoughts.
Thanks very much, Hal and Coley. Marcus was just asking Andreas around him how many laps.
Yes.
You're calculating the laps, aren't you, alongside
yeah, I have 5
Kevin?
fingers, but it's only 4 laps. No.
You'll be okay
I
then.
told him 5.
Yes, good. I like the team tactics. How are you finding this super team challenge?
Yeah, okay, I drove already mine, so okay, I was struggling a little bit with a new car for me, but okay, fine.
And you have a wealth of experience.
I should have, yes.
In the car. How much experience do you actually have, spotting like this with an electric car as well?
No, spotting I have not much. I've been once, I think, in America, in GRC many years ago. Once I was spotting. But yeah, electric cars are okay, not many laps, really. I did 3 laps yesterday at practice and now the race, yeah.
And how did you find it? How different is it?
Interesting. It's, but okay, you can adjust the car also, and I need to drive more but I'm not driving anymore, so it's fine, just show races.
And we were just talking with Andreas there, the cars look relatively similar. The liveries aren't too distinctive. What colour is your car? Do you know?
No, I think my car is now, Johan is using it, Kristoffersson is using my car, or? Yeah.
We are using our car.
So Andreas has got the blue and red one with Anton Markland.
No, okay. Somebody told me that Johan will have my car because he's tall.
We'll try and find out for you.
Yeah,
Thanks very much,
thank
Marcus.
you.
Good luck.
Sorry, I was...
Okay, well, that's nice and confusing for us as well. So basically what they've done is Johan Kristoffersson is in the yellow car, which was Gronholm's because he's tall, and that's about seat position, which we discussed the other day, actually, is can you squeeze blokes that are 6'4" into these cars? You can. But that means Kristoffersson is in the yellow car in the centre of the grid. You've got Kevin Eriksson and Oliver Eriksson in the other two. Brilliant start in the middle of the grid for Kristoffersson. Finds the traction away and moves across to cover off the inside line immediately. Nice move. Anyone going to go Joker immediately? It's one of the Erikssons. I'm not sure myself, Hal.
Yeah, that's Kevin Eriksson that's gone Joker, and that's done all of Marcus Gronholm's work for him, hasn't it? Because now he's taken the Joker, Marcus doesn't need to worry about it.
I absolutely love the fact that Marcus wasn't sure on what colour it was. There you got Andreas Backward look spotting. I think that was it Markland in the background as well. Sideways on the way, a little bit of contact, gathers it up.
Is there a front right puncture for Johan? Maybe not. Maybe the tyre profile is just very low as he turned in, but he doesn't seem to have the momentum going down the straight.
You're right, Hal. I think you're right. That will certainly the car looked very low on the right-hand side, and he's losing time.
Andreas looks concerned.
Laura's laughing in the background. So it is quite fun to see these guys stepping outside their comfort zones. Is it off there? It doesn't look like it. Meanwhile, in the background, it was a good move to Joker on lap 1 from the looks of things. Kevin Eriksson. Kevin will have spent a fair bit of time in these cars. You can see top left of the screen which drivers are in which team. I was impressed by Timmy Hansen on his run in this car. He looked really comfortable in it last time out. Oh, hang on. So I wish I spoke better Swedish. But Marcus and Kevin there. Marcus, I'm looking like he's asking what's going on.
He was saying, keep it up, keep it up. That's what our Swedish producer's telling me in our ears. Yeah, good call, Kevin. Kevin is a spotter though, so it's not really fair, is it? Kevin does a lot of spotting, especially for the yellow squad drivers. And you know, when people drive the cross cars, there's another super experienced spotter in Sebastian Eriksson. He spends half his life doing that. Timmy Hansen also knows the score, so I think Marcus is a little bit of a disadvantage.
It's all a bit of fun, isn't it? It's nice. Andreas Eriksson keen for as many of these top drivers as possible to drive an electric rallycross car and get a feel for it, and they've all enjoyed it. I think from the feedback I've had, they've all been touch of the barrier in the background. He's the rear right,
front right puncture,
and rear right as well.
And rear right.
Double puncture. So double puncture, front and rear right.
And front right. It is a front right puncture for Jan Kristoffersson. So it's interesting because
well, that's not so interesting. That's not ideal at all, is it? So this is a race of the punctures at the back.
Johan was saying that the puncture he got in the semi-final that meant he could join us here in commentary for the final on Thursday. Normally he knows where he's got the puncture, and he just doesn't understand. They've been around the track. They've looked at all of the circuits, see if there's any holes, and they just can't work out where. And it could well be the same now.
You have
so the time,
10 seconds to the next driver.
Andreas backwards, super chilled out. You've got a 10-second lead, and the two drivers behind are having a massive understeer, oversteer battle. Basically, I think that's about to get parked at the side of the road, surely. Although when you're not paying the bills, maybe you just carry on and get it to the end of the race. Katie, you did a brilliant drive with the puncture in Extreme E, but I think 2 is a bridge too far, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know? I actually think I know where these punctures are coming.
Go on.
Because just before the velodrome, there's a dip, and I hit it earlier, and I thought, what is that? And then I've been driving around it. There is a hole in the track, because it was really, really big through the cross car, and I thought it was going to give me, like the kind of exchange as you go on to the literally just before the apex, so the right apex, and I hit it with my front right wheel. Didn't get a puncture, but I'm guessing that would be the only bump that I've felt, and it wasn't there a couple of days ago. I think it's been brought out in the rain.
Interesting. Thank you, Katie Munnings. Great bit of feedback for us from directly on the track. Win there for Kevin Eriksson, 3:34. So. A fair bit off the pace of the quickest supercar, which was the time to beat in the bottom corner.
Andreas backward knows the score, doesn't he? He and Kevin can speak to each other in some sort of Swedish-Norwegian lingo, can't they? But he's speaking English for the benefit of us, so thanks for that, Andreas.
Yeah, good lad. Well, punctures galore.
Now it looks like a rallycross car.
Yeah. Bumpers need rewrapping, probably replacing, definitely the tyres, maybe the rims.
Kevin Eriksson, we livid.
Oh, you will when I said, well, actually, Andreas said to us, didn't he, we were laughing at Andreas because we were saying you've got 2 of your sons driving in this, and he said, well, that's fine. If they break it, they're going to have to fix it.
So, Andreas, Anton, brilliant win for you there. Consummate, comprehensive. The words of wisdom from you, Andreas. At one point I heard Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
Fly on the Wings of Love. Talk us through your strategy of singing to Kevin Eriksson.
I mean, it's so slippery out here, so you needed to start steady and then bring it up a little bit, but nothing more than needed. So we were satisfied there. He did the job he needed.
Yeah.
And but it was all about the team effort.
Yeah, the strategy was all. Yeah.
Sure, you were really helpful, I'm sure. Anton, for you, what was your job? Were you calculating the laps?
Yeah, we were doing the splits to the other cars, so we already had the gap for them. If they would joker, even though they did have before they had a puncture, we would overtake them. So, yeah, it was a good strategy to go joker lap 1.
The only thing I can say, if I did something bad, I switched from Swedish Norwegian to English all of a sudden, and then back to Swedish Norwegian, and then back onto English again. So
that's not confusing at all, is it? How did you enjoy your experience spotting, timekeeping?
It's always good. I mean, the good thing is that we all know each other very well for many years of racing together. So it's good to do something that is maybe not so serious, but at the same time, every time you're in the car, you don't want to lose. So we try our best to help each other out and take it with a smile, either if we win or lose.
Yeah.
And you won, absolutely.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Thanks very much,
good.
guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I like the fact that Andreas Backer is confirming to us that there is a language out there which is Swedish Norwegian. Apparently that's a thing. I've definitely heard Swedish Finnish between Marcus Cronum and various people as well. And then he switched to English, which was handy for us.
It was, yeah. I mean, the Norwegians and Swedes claim to speak different languages, but they can all speak to each other, so I don't think that's a load of nonsense.
No, I think it's all pretty similar, isn't it, we think. So we're going to have a quick look at the standings for Supercar. Let's see where we are after Q2. Niklas Gronholm at the top of the table with a 40-point and a 50-point. I'm trying to see where he would have been. So that's a P4 and a win. And it's the same results for Frazier McConnell. They're equal on points. The reason Gronholm is ahead is it is the latest best score, which takes the position. Kristoffersson with 2 P3s. He's in third. Evgen, Sabo, Markland, Gurman, Backerud, Hedstrom and Carlson, your top 10. Remember, the top 12 go through. Enzo Eid, look, he's just about in. He'll be desperate to get through. He needs to change luck, Enzo Eid does. So we've got Q3 and Q4 coming tomorrow along with semis and finals. Katie, what changes are we making overnight? Anything, or are we just going to go out with a big grin on our face and have another crack tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Just enjoying it. It's so much fun every time I get out. I'm smiling. So yeah, hopefully I might try and qualify for the semi-final, which was our kind of weekend goal. Big one, I know, because these guys are, you know, I was not expecting to come here and do anything. I just wanted to get some experience of starts, but maybe it's possible. So we'll give it a go.
Oh, we wish you the very best of luck with that. Hal, your thoughts on today? I mean, any surprises? I think it's about what Frazier McConnell was brilliant in the wet, wasn't he? I think it's very tight in Supercar and in Crosscar too.
It is very tight in Supercar. I think there's always an expectation that Nicholas Gronemeyer and Kristoffersson are going to run away with it, but they're absolutely not. The conditions have played to that a little bit. I think, yeah, the conditions are due to get drier tomorrow, so it'll be completely different, and that's great for us because it means that it's a whole new learning experience for everybody again.
Right, brilliant day of racing here from Höljes with Q1 and Q2. We will be back at 0800 local time, that's Central European time, with Q3 tomorrow. And you stay with us, of course, for Q4 semis and finals. We've got a bunch more action to come from Höljes. We will see you then.
Smash the subscribe and like button, and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss out on any action.
Hit it down below.